Welcome everyone to the Worst Fans podcast. My name is Marco and I'm here with your host Rhett and Buck, and today we have a special guest, Trish. Please introduce yourself, Trish.
Hi, I'm Trish. I'm Rhett's friend. My husband and Rhett were co-workers in the Navy, and we've been friends ever since. If it involves space, magic, dinosaurs, superpowers, zombies, I'm probably already obsessed with it. So I'm really excited to be here. And I've definitely enjoyed all of the series so far and geeking out in silence.
Thank you so much for being our one viewer. That's always constant.
Yeah, you're probably the only one.
Right. The only one that's not family.
Yes, exactly. And Trish is here today because she was an extra on the Jurassic World movie, the first one. And that's really exciting. That's awesome news. I actually have a picture up that she sent me. I'm going to throw up on the screen now. And as you can see here, Trish is the arrows are pointed towards Trish and Joseph.
Right.
My brother.
Yes.
I thought that was your brother. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. So Trish, tell us about your experience. What was it like?
So my brother was actually an extra in Self-Roll Productions in New Orleans, and then he sent me a link to an open casting call for Jurassic World, and I thought, "Oop, I'm doing it." So I had to send in a headshot, I had to send in my measurements, and within a few days, I actually got a call back, and I was really surprised.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so of course it was when shot in New Orleans in May, and we got another email asking us to prepare ahead of time. So of course I packed shorts, I packed tennis shoes because I'm going to be running away from dinosaurs. I want to be comfortable and practical. But then we got another email saying that we have to dress like rich tourists. You have to wear nice clothes. And I'm thinking, oh no. So I ended up borrowing some clothes from my now sister-in-law in that dress in that screenshot, and I wore flat sandals. So our callback time was at 4 a.m. and they fed us a really nice breakfast beforehand. So and then from 8 to 12 was all calm walking scenes. So my brother and I were just walking back and forth, and the set was amazing. I can't believe I forgot to mention that. It was an exact replica of, for example, the Universal City Walk before you go into Universal Studios,
Right.
with even merchandise inside. So it was like we were actually at a theme park, and it was built.
Did you for a moment really get into character? Like, I'm in Costa Rica at Jurassic World. That's so cool.
We did. It was actually in Chalmette.
Yep.
Close to the abandoned Six Flags in Chalmette, so that was really fun. So and then we had a huge announcement that said, okay, everybody, from after lunch we're all going to have attack scenes, and my brother were like, yes. That's what we were looking forward to the most. But we had a surprise during lunch because Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard actually visited our extra tent where we were eating lunch, and they personally thanked us for being extras in the movie and said that they appreciated us, which I never forgot that. So every time I see them, I always smile.
Oh, that's awesome.
So they're very, 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 very nice. And all of the cast and crew are very on top of their game. They always had someone spray us with sunblock, made sure nobody was overheated or sunburnt. So during the chase scenes, that was fun and chaotic at the same time. They directed my brother and I to run towards the T-Rex paddock. During that scene, they're like, so as we're filming you, don't look at the camera, and then you two are going to run into the T-Rex paddock. And Joseph are like, so we're going to die probably. And they're like, yeah, probably. Never got eaten on screen, but still, that was pretty cool. So from 12 to 6, my brother and I were running back and forth in the New Orleans heat, but it was still so much fun. And then also pretty, like I said, chaotic, because there are people that were running full speed and they would trip and someone like somersaulted.
Oh my god.
And they got injured, but And they were there. They were also saying, make sure not to run into this door because we're going to have an explosion right here, and then this dinosaur is going to come in through here, and then what else? It was just it was an amazing experience for sure, and something I'm never gonna forget.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow, that's awesome.
And then I actually got to run next to Chris Pratt in one of the scenes
Oh,
too.
wow.
And yeah, when we cut, he actually gave me a smile, like a nice reassuring smile, and I was just like, oh.
That's so awesome.
Is that also
Star
in the
Lord.
film, or did it not make the cut? Like you guys, like
It wasn't in
next
the
in
film.
running film? Oh, okay.
It was or it was not?
No,
It
she
was
said
not. It was
wasn't.
the part where he was running with the military.
I see.
Yeah, so much hits the cutting room floor, huh? Yeah, maybe the
I was
director's cut one day.
honestly surprised that my back made it on there. So I was thankful.
So how
Yeah.
many days were you there for? Or was it just like one
Yeah,
day?
that's what I was gonna ask. Yeah.
Yeah.
How many days?
It was just one day.
Mm,
I would have had more, is just due to my schedule, and then I think with everything else I couldn't
right.
do the other
Did
days.
you actually get to see? Because obviously, most of the dinosaurs were CGI, but did you actually get to see anything that was like animatronic dinosaurs in that scene, or was you were just basically just running and not seeing anything? You just or that
There were no
all animal?
animatronics, but there were explosions in the store, and there
Right.
were things like wrecking stuff, but no animatronic dinosaurs, unfortunately.
Okay.
So you were saying like even like the interiors of like the stores, they had like merchandise and like in restaurants, like it was all themed based off the park and stuff. So like none of it was like I don't want to say like it wasn't real, but like you saw like a Jurassic World T-shirt, it was just like there like
Mhm.
merchandise. But even though it wasn't like for sale, obviously it was just like for a prop for the movie. That's cool. That's awesome.
But you really did feel like you could actually go in and
Yeah,
buy
it felt
it.
like merchandise. Like you were at the part in Universal, like you could just go in and grab it.
Was the Margaritaville functioning? Wasn't
We
there?
weren't
I remember
allowed to go inside the Margaritaville.
fail.
Dang.
That's funny. Couldn't have your extras tripping over each other more than necessary.
I never thought of it that way, but you're right. Like, because you're saying it was basically modeled off City Walk from Universal, and it does look a lot like it. I never actually thought about it, but yeah, thinking about it's true. Did you get to meet the director,
We
Tom
didn't get to
Caval?
meet him personally, but I did see him sitting on top of
Mm.
everything.
Cool.
Cool.
Old Colin, who I noticed directed this one tonight that I saw. I didn't realize he was
Yeah,
involved
he did.
behind it.
He directed the first one and this last one.
I think you could tell. I think it was. I mean, we'll get into it later, but
Yeah.
yeah,
All right. Well,
good.
that's a lot of fun, man.
I know.
I would love to have
Was
an
it?
experience like that.
Oh, I know, right? It's
I
so
mean,
cool.
yeah.
It was the actual Six Flags, wasn't it?
It wasn't actually inside the Six Flags, it was just nearby it.
Hmm.
Because I remember I was there back in the day when they opened that New Orleans Six Flags. It only lasted few years. It seems like it didn't make it real well, but I remember like walking up to a little water area, and I always thought that must have been where they shot that, but I guess it was adjacent or something. So cool.
All right. Well, now we're actually going to talk about our experience about watching the first Jurassic Park film. I was obviously a lot younger when I first saw it than compared to Buck and Rhett. And so yeah, why don't you guys start? Buck, why don't you start over there since you're on my
Yeah,
right?
oldest
I
part.
heard the
Oldest first, yes.
That's why.
Hmm.
Okay, well, I was 13, turning 14 when I saw it in the theater, and I'll never forget it. It was, I mean, you as I'm watching it, I'm kind of realizing that this is basically it's groundbreaking because I saw it with my cousins. It was on my 14th birthday. I remember it was on a Saturday, and when you're sitting there and you first see the Brachiosaurus come on screen, I mean, it's almost like I was taken back to the point where I mean I was young and I for a moment I thought, is this real? I've never seen anything like this. I mean it's amazing. So right there, I mean that was just the start of it, and that's where the obsession started. And the whole movie was amazing. Obviously, I saw it bunch of times in the theater, and yeah, it's just one of those movies that will always. I mean, it's easily probably top three of all time as far as a movie goes. It's a classic. I mean, there's so much about it that I love. And I still watch it today, and it's still it's still, it actually to me looks better than the newer ones as far as visual effects, and this was going back to 1993. So yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I can't say enough about it. And I feel bad for my brother because he didn't get to see it in theater.
No,
He was too young, so he
So
didn't get that experience watching
not
it for the first time
around.
in
I don't
theater.
think you were born yet.
I wasn't born yet.
So
Yeah,
no, he wasn't born yet.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. I
Cool.
mean, what else is there to say? I mean, it's amazing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, Rhett, what about your thoughts? What about your emotions
Yeah.
and feelings about the first movie?
It blew my socks off. I mean, I was 12, going on 13. I think it was the summer before starting the sixth grade. So it's kind of a big transition in, any adolescent's life anyway. But I remember that movie just felt like this is so different. Like how, like you said, is this real? It was chilling, but it was just so at the time you could just tell so good. And the music, it was that time in your life you started to recognize and appreciate how good a movie could be.
Yeah.
And I think it's even the first time I noticed the surround sound of the theater, like with the rain behind you and the, cries of the Dilophosaurus and such. And it was just like, this is amazing. Like you couldn't stop thinking about it. And I think I saw it on a Saturday with my best friend Ryan. And then the next day, Sunday, we had to go see it again. So we brought like his mom and his sister. Um, and we all watched it again. I think even it just inspired a lot for me wanting to get into a creative field too, because it was so neat. I wanted to know how they did that stuff. I couldn't stop obsessing over it. Any video game that came out. I think the second time I saw it at the end credits, I noticed it said, based on the book by Michael Crichton. I was like, "Ooh, there's a book." So I remember talked my dad the next week to take me to the drugstore and find it, next to the grocery store. Like, can we go over? I want to see if they have the book. I found it and bought it and read it, and it blew me away because if you've read it, it's actually quite different than the movie, and there's so much more content in there. You're
Yeah.
like, there's even more. This is the best thing ever. Like, you guys have to check it out someday. But yeah, it's just with if we're going to stop at the first one for now, I still think I call it the greatest movie of our generation that we saw. Like maybe 10
Yeah.
years before, it was probably Star Wars for everybody because I didn't get to see Star Wars in the theater. But for me, that was the best new movie, and I still can't go back to a movie experience that was any better than that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cool. I guess Trish, you're next in line.
Yep. Trish, let's talk about your thoughts.
I think I was about 6. I wasn't able to watch it in theaters yet, but it was always something with me and my brother. My brother and I are also very close, and all of the fandoms we've enjoyed together, including Jurassic Park. And yeah, we definitely felt that it was real, and we would pretend to be as still as possible in case a T-Rex ripped off the roof of our house. And we would go on digs. And it was also, I guess, another stepping stone for me as also a science nerd, as I love science and everything. I'm a microbiologist, so the part with Mr. DNA always makes me happy. And I also read the book later on, and I think that was I think that was the first Michael Crichton book I've ever read. And
Definitely.
I've always loved sci-fi ever since, and that whole questioning of like, is this really what we should do? Is this moral to bring back these creatures that have been extinct for all these years? How will this disrupt the balance of our world? It's always been something that I've enjoyed sharing with my brother as well. So it's always been a very good experience. And then moving on to that experience with filming with him in Jurassic World was also like icing on top of the cake, I guess.
Wow, that's awesome.
And I,
Yeah.
and I think now, especially since my youngling is also getting into dinosaurs, it's also special
Yeah.
that I'll be able to share that with him later on. Yeah, everything about it. I loved learning all of the behind the scenes facts. The fact that they did the guitar string for the water, the
Base.
T-Rex.
Yes. Yes.
I love the music, of course. John Williams, the master himself. Definitely one of his best themes. Um, yeah, I just love everything. Oh, and the fact sometimes that meme about the Triceratops, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, how can this person do that?" Some people thought that the Triceratops was actually real.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, on
Yeah.
a meme.
Yep, familiar with that.
Wow,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
Great.
yeah.
hilarious.
Oh man.
Well, I guess for me, when I first saw it, I think I was probably like around 7 or 8 when I first saw the first Jurassic Park. But that movie is probably what got me into liking dinosaurs as a kid.
Yes.
I remember watching Jurassic Park, and then I think maybe a year after, maybe a couple months after, me and my brother, and my dad, we went to Universal, Islands of Adventure specifically, and I didn't know that they had a Jurassic Park section. And then we got there, and I found out, and I don't think I let them leave for like 3 hours.
He didn't. I tried to take him. I tried to take him to see the Hulk, right? Spider-Man,
I
and he did
remember
not
this.
want to
I forgot
leave
about
the
that
Jurassic
I
story.
did
Park
not
Center.
want to leave Jurassic Park
He
Center. I
refused.
wanted to see the Velociraptors hatch.
Yeah,
I wanted to do the Mr. DNA thing. I wanted to do the trivia. I wanted to do everything that was
yeah.
there like 10 times
He
over.
couldn't
I
get him to
was
leave.
I was obsessed.
I
Um,
remember that. Yeah,
mhm.
you were definitely a good for a late bloomer Jurassic Park fan. You like brought your
Yeah,
He
just
was
as gung ho
obsessed.
as all of us.
yeah.
Yeah,
You guys are right. It was cinematically beautiful. Storytelling was great. The dinosaurs are great. Acting was great. I mean, even as a kid, I appreciated it as a movie. It was a film I watched over and over again. Um, and then I saw my brother playing a game. I thought he was watching Jurassic Park at first, but because it had the title on there, Jurassic Park, and then I saw things that said Operation Genesis. I'm like, what's this? And
Yeah.
it was the Jurassic Park game, which was like a park builder for Jurassic Park. I'm like, you can make your own Jurassic Park. And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, can I play? And then he was like, yeah, of course you can. Yeah, he was like, no. But then I was like, well, I'm going to play when you're not here. And I think he got mad at me because I think I accidentally deleted his park.
He probably did.
I think I did, but then I made like a humongous park and found all the cheat
I think we
codes.
still have that game somewhere.
I think I have
Yeah,
it.
an Xbox. Yeah,
I think I have it. No, it was
if
a
you have it on Xbox, it's probably worth something.
no, it was PlayStation 2.
PlayStation 2. Yeah,
Still,
sorry.
Yeah, it was PlayStation 2. Actually, it is worth something because I don't think you could find it anymore on like
I know.
downloads.
Yeah.
You can rip it on PC
Yeah,
somewhere.
I mean they came out with the new Jurassic World Evolution games, but they don't hit the same.
I'd like to go to the predecessor. There's a little bit of geek knowledge some people out there may remember, but right after Jurassic Park was a DOS game called Dino Park Tycoon. Obviously, it was trying to play off of that, but it was the closest thing at the time. It was really old, kind of cartoony and fun, but me and my buddy Johnny, I don't know if you remember Johnny, fuck. Anyway, he was the one that had a
Oh yeah,
Mac.
yeah.
Yeah,
We do. Yeah.
maybe DOS Mac. It was on one of those old early
Right.
90s computers, but it was pretty fun. I still have the theme song in that in my head. So when they came out with a real park builder, it was quite good, and that was a good one. But yeah, I feel like we could have a whole conversation on the video games that started.
Going back to the first movie though, when I came out, I remember because you had the Sega Genesis and I had the Super Nintendo,
Yeah,
and Jurassic Park had two different games for both. Like how sometimes for Genesis and Nintendo they'll have the same exact game for both systems. They didn't. They had one for Genesis, which I loved, which always wanted to play, but I could never play it because that's Super Nintendo. And they had one for the Super Nintendo that was completely different. And Rhett wanted to play the one for Super Nintendo, and he couldn't. And they were both really good, actually, and very different. So it was just amazing. Like, man, we both had different systems. So we couldn't play the games we wanted to play because they're just completely different.
and
So
then
it's
my
just
buddy
funny.
Ryan, the same guy I saw the movie with in the theater, he
Yeah.
was hot stuff, and he got a Sega CD. And the Jurassic Park on Sega CD was, um, some would say not great. It was more like a what do they call those games? Like a point and click adventure.
Yeah,
But
I
for
remember that.
us, it was an actual like a cinematic sequel to the movie because it was after the events of the movie, and you crashed on this island, and your job is to there's another party of bad guys that come and they try to steal the eggs. It was very it matched kind of with the Lost World novel actually a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
And you go around, you have to collect eggs from every species and go put them in the incubator. And there was like live action video, like actors, speaking to you. This woman on a computer was helping you, and she's like, "Hey, while you're there, we need you to go take care of this stuff." And it would get serious and like dark, and we were looking at each other like, "This is great! Like this is like the sequel to Jurassic Park. And it's only 1994." It was cool. So the games were neat. They
Yeah, it
definitely
was neat.
good
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
they did.
Yeah,
Like,
there was
Jurassic
a
Park
lot of
has some
games
really
even
good.
after the fact. My generation, I remember there's like an iPad game that was kind of like a Telltale
With
series.
the handheld.
Yeah.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
I played that too. That was a legit game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like 4 parts or something like that. Because I think it was the story was basically how like they got the can with the DNA and they retrieved it.
Yeah,
I like that
they
game.
had
You
it.
played that
They
too,
had it on
Trish?
PS3 also. I
Was it
think, right?
PS3? I
Yeah.
remember playing it on
Yeah,
the
they
phone.
did have it. Yeah,
I
Like
played on my iPad.
I beat it. I
iPad.
remember.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
iPad I played it on.
But it was on everything. Yeah.
yeah,
I still have that on my iPad. I wonder that'd be a good one to try again.
Hmm.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
fun.
because I
All
completely
right,
forgot
so
it.
do you move on to the Lost World?
Yes.
Lost
Well,
World, some thoughts on that?
basically the conclusion for the first Jurassic Park. I think it's
Yeah, this yeah, right.
safe to say that all of us, it's probably our favorite one
Oh,
in the Jurassic Park
without a doubt.
series. It's even including the
10 out of
sequels.
10.
10
Easy
out
10
of
out of 10,
10.
yeah.
That's not
Fantastic
I
even
don't
film.
yeah,
give many 10s. It's one of the 10s in my,
yeah.
Yeah.
favorites, yeah.
Oh, it's a 10 out of 10. It is for sure.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to the Lost World. I have a very interesting history with this movie. Because I had it on. I actually had this movie. Well, I had all three of them like on a VHS set. But I actually watched the second one a lot as a kid, and I don't know why. I don't know why I was so obsessed with it as a kid because I guess it was like in a city setting more, and like after they brought the T-Rex to the city and stuff, I don't know why I thought that was real. I thought it was like watching the news or something. Because I felt like when I was a
Yeah.
kid, and it felt like, wow, can a T Rex actually come here? Like that's scary. Like
Yeah, I
watching
can
that,
see as a kid you believe in that, sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was just like, wow, they could bring a T Rex here. Like that would be traumatizing for people. It could kill people, and it was just like I shouldn't have been watching it as a kid, to be honest. But still, it was just like I remember like watching it a lot because I feel like it's a situation that can like happen and almost be very scary. Um,
Cool.
Buck, what are your thoughts on the Lost World?
Well, I remember seeing, man, I was a junior in high school and I was in the theater watching the movie Scream. And before the movie started, there's a trailer, and they had the first trailer for the Lost World Jurassic Park. It said in big words,
Something
something
has survived.
with lightning has survived. And you see the footprint of the T Rex is stomping, and you see him there. And man, my heart just dropped because I was like, oh my God. I was so excited. Um, I remember I was I was dating a girl at the time, and we were supposed to go on a cruise with like one of those day cruises with a bunch of friends. And I said, and that was the same day that the Lost World was coming out. I'm like, sorry, I have to go see this movie. And so I went, and it's funny. I mean, at the time, I really liked it a lot. I mean, it wasn't as good as the first, but it still had that vibe because Spielberg still directed it, and there was, I mean, it was a different story. It did have a different feeling from the first one as far as the way it was, I guess, the tone, but it was still beautifully directed, I thought. And the dinosaurs felt the same as it did in the first one as far as the look of them. They felt real. So I still think honestly I still enjoy the movie a lot. It's not as good as the first one. It did have some problems. Some of the characters I thought should not have been in it. But overall, I still enjoyed it. I still think it was a lot of fun. The ending with the T Rex, going around the city and stuff. I When I was younger, I enjoyed it. Now it's like I really wished it would have stayed on the island, but it was still a cool sequence. I mean, it wasn't bad. So I mean, overall, it's still my second favorite. I still hold it as my second favorite. Yeah.
Wow,
So yeah,
I'm shocked.
yeah. So
Cool.
interesting. Like second
Yeah,
favorite in this in like the entire series.
the entire,
all
yeah,
6 of them.
yeah. I
Wow.
because I rewatched all of them before I saw Dominion again. I really sat down and really just saw each and every one. I picked out all their flaws and really, I really wanted because there's some movies that actually moved down the list and moved up the list because I hadn't seen them in a while, and I realized like
I'm
there's
looking
some things
forward to
about
seeing
all the
your
movies
thoughts on
that
that.
I just saw them differently, and yeah, and this one still stays as second best for me. It just does.
Hmm,
Cool.
Yeah,
wow.
That's respect to the classics, you know?
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
all right,
So
right,
I
your turn.
was kind of the opposite, and I remember this was one of our first back and forth because Buck used to come spend the summers with me
Yeah.
when I was in junior high, and he was that age, and we would debate all night. This is exactly it's so funny how it's like the Last Jedi debates in the past few years, but for me,
Yeah,
Lost World was disappointing, and it could have been at the time. I had, like I said, I read the first book, and before the Lost World came out, I read the sequel in the book. And if you've done that before, that's kind of usually the a bad move because the book is hard to beat every
yeah,
time. Your imagination rather is just so it sees it perfectly, and that was one of those where the book's story was so different from the movie to me. I mean, I think did you ever read it, Trish, the Lost
I
World?
did. Mhm.
Okay, yeah, we can maybe get into that some of that territory when it's your turn. But um, it was just like it felt like a piece of it was the same, but the rest was just like, why'd you do this plot line when that was the good plot line? Um, More on that later when we talk about tonight's movie, the one I just saw, the newest one.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I
But see,
felt
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but do you think that, I mean, because see, I didn't read the book, obviously, right? So
maybe,
because you read the book, could
yeah,
could that played like a part in you being disappointed? Because if you didn't read it and you just saw the movie as
might
it
have been
was,
fine.
yeah,
That could have been it. It really could have been
yeah,
it. I'm not sure yet. Year 30 years later, I still don't know. I there were parts of that movie I still thought were a little confusing, and I still to this day kind of criticize. I mean, I could criticize the prequel still, and I don't care. There's
yeah,
issues in stuff, but I'm a little surprised he went from what I thought was like a flawless masterpiece to well, those were a lot of weird choices. I mean, you know how the T Rex and the baby T Rex are on the ship heading to San Diego,
mhm,
and then
yeah,
it's almost like everyone dies on it's like, how did that happen? Like the T-Rex clearly kind of broke out a
yeah,
little bit, but
yeah,
there's
yeah,
like, the ship's helm and there's like a ripped off
The
hand
hand.
on it, and you're like, how did
yeah,
that happen?
yeah.
And
I know what you're saying.
there's just stuff I was like, really Spielberg? Like that's a little strange.
Yeah,
Um he went for like a extra comedy with Malcolm. Granted, nothing's wrong with Jeff Goldblum's performance ever, I think, but
yeah.
he
I
was
mean, I
extra
still
like
think he was great.
yeah,
His
his
humor. I
intro was a
mean,
little funny, like the British mom with the child, and then she screams and looks up, and it's a upshot of him like yawning in the subway with the palm tree
Yeah.
poster behind him. And you're like, what the hell's going on? It's like, is there a giant Jeff
you know what
Goldblum?
though? He
It was
still
just
had one of the best lines to this day. I think it's still classic from any movie. Where when he first get on the island looking for Sarah, for his girlfriend, and he yells Sarah, and then they're like Sarah, and then his Vince Vaughn goes Sarah Harding.
Sarah
He's like,
Harding.
how many
How many
Sarahs do you think
Sarahs
are
do
in
you
this
think?
island? That was great, man. That
that
was
was
like one of the
comedy
best
gold, yeah.
lines to this day. It's
How,
hilarious.
how
It's
many?
great.
Because he says it so like you
Yeah,
idiot, you effing idiot. What do you?
I know. It was great.
That's
So,
awesome.
I mean, there's cool stuff. The compies were brought to life perfectly. I thought they were a cool addition. The Raptors were cool. What else? There's a couple of different like there was two kids instead of one, whatever. But the story was completely different. Like just to I'm gonna keep it limited to like don't jump ahead of me here yet, but the bad guy in the book, The Lost World, was Lewis Dodgson, and he was a main villain on
Yeah,
the island doing really awesome stuff, collecting eggs, just like that one game I was talking about. And he had
yeah,
this great device, and there's this amazing scene I remember from the book in my head, but it's what I read, where they're at the T-Rex nest and they're trying to get the T-Rex egg. And he's got this device. It's worked a couple times already. They've gotten dinosaurs, but he plays this audio, some kind of high frequency wave, and it's flipping out the animals so they can go grab the eggs, run off to the next one. Because Biosyn wants to uh, do their own version of it. They've been trying to steal since the first movie with the Barbasol can. And the battery or something goes wrong with the machine in the T Rex nest after he's like already right there in the middle of it. And so the T Rexes are there and they're screwed. And it's just a great, you imagine something like that in your head. And it's like, I don't think they may have come close to that a little bit here and there since then, but it's one of those things like none of these great scenes made it, in my opinion. So
yeah,
whatever. It's all right.
yeah,
I look back and I like it a decent amount now. It doesn't bother me nearly as much as it used to. So,
yeah.
but I've made this comparison with both the Jurassic Park trilogy and the Jurassic World trilogy. That I feel the first one's what people like. And this is kind of like the sequels is what I'm comparing them to. And then the second one, some people like it and some people don't like it. And then the third one's a kind of a mixed bag. Usually the opposites end up liking. And we'll get to Jurassic Park 3. But Buck, you and I was like, I didn't really like Lost World. You did. And then we flip flopped. I thought Jurassic Park 3 was like an improvement
Well, let's
to
let's
certain
let's hold off
things.
on that. Let's go. Let's stay with Lost World for a second,
Yeah,
and then we'll
yeah. All
get to
right.
the
You're
Park
right.
Three.
Yes.
Yeah.
All
We'll
right.
get there.
All right, Trish. Tell us your thoughts on the Lost World.
I think I'm stuck.
Uh-oh. We see you
You
fine. All
see,
right.
fine?
Yeah, we see you good. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I saw Lost World when I was in 5th grade after school had ended. And I remember liking it a decent bit, but also like Rhett, I had also ended up reading the book and it was really different. And I was also wondering why certain scenes didn't make the cut and why they chose to focus on different things. What are our thoughts on including the daughter in Lost World?
It was confusing as a kid for me. I mean,
Yes.
obviously the casting, just because I mean she is a black girl, and it was like I guess she's adopted, but they more instigated. They made you think he's a player. You know, he gets around.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I just figured, oh, it's like his biological daughter, but it kind of didn't make sense to me. I guess
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I
If that
didn't
if that's
understand that
good.
as a kid either. It was very confusing. I guess I automatically assumed she was adopted even as a child, but again, they
It
never really made that clear.
it didn't bother me. What bothered me is just the fact that I just think her character wasn't really needed. They just threw her in there to have a kid in there because they
Yeah.
feel okay they have to have a kid in there. But yeah, I mean that whole gymnastic scene was that's one of the things I was like, yeah. But besides that, it was like okay, they just they're doing the checklist. All right, you have to have a kid in here. Let's
Have a
just
kid, or else it's not. Yeah, it's too
yeah,
scary.
but
If
whatever.
the
Yeah,
kid can make it, then it's not too scary.
yeah. So
Okay.
I feel
Was
like
that?
the sense of wonder was still there, so I liked that, and seeing them in their habitat and then being threatened, I guess, by the hunters was interesting. Me and I like the main hunter. What's his name? Pete Postlethwaite, the one with the tranquilizer darts.
Yeah,
oh, the
yeah.
one
I
who
ended
had
up
the like
liking
Mhm.
him a
hunting
lot.
T-Rex. Yeah, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
of course, they copied the long grass scene in The Mummy Returns. I remember too.
Yeah, with the velociraptors with
With the
the
yeah,
long grass.
don't
They
go
ripped
into
them.
the long grass.
Yeah. Oh, I never thought of that. The movie's a little bit later. Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, I enjoyed it, but definitely not as much as the first.
Yeah, of course.
Mhm.
Okay. Looks like we're gonna move on to Jurassic Park 3. Um,
You
Buck,
just
what?
move fast. So.
Yeah, Buck, why don't you start with that one since it seems like I don't know if you're the odd one
Uh,
out because I don't know if you have the same opinion as me for Jurassic Park 3.
I yeah. You sure want to start? You sure you want to start with me first?
Yeah.
It
Go ahead.
seems like you don't
You got to
like it
go in
because
order.
it's okay. It's my least favorite too of the three.
Okay.
So.
Well, yeah. Like I said, I saw all of them again recently,
Mm-hmm.
and okay, it came out in 2001, I believe. And I know I just have these stories because I remember them perfectly. I saw the first trailer when the first DVD came out for Jurassic Park and The Lost World together as a set,
Yes, that's how
and
you had to see it.
they had the first trailer to Jurassic Park 3, which is just a bunch of like bushes
It was crap.
going through, and it said Jurassic Park 3, and I'm like, that's great, okay, wonderful, that's all we
And it
got.
said like a sneak preview. There's a sticker on the when
Yeah,
you
I
bought
mean,
it.
that got me
Yeah.
so excited, and it was nothing.
Yeah.
I was like, really, okay. So okay, so this movie came out during the summer. I mean we did see it together in the theater at some point. I'm not sure it was the first time, but I remember me, you, and Chris did see it. Yeah, to me this one was if you were comparing the Jurassic Park series to the Batman series, this is the Batman and Robin of the series. Um,
Uh,
Look, I'll give it this. I'll give it this. I did not enjoy this movie. There are some parts I did like. I mean, there was a lot more dinosaurs in this one than there were in the Lost World, but I really feel this one was the cheap one. It was the shortest one, 90 minutes, and I feel if you look at all of them, you could tell this was the one that the budget was very, very like restricted. Like some of the visuals weren't that great. I mean, the close-ups were fine. The Spinosaurus was really cool. But besides that, I mean, the Kirby's. Oh God, the Kirby's.
they were annoying. Yeah.
I couldn't get past that. It was, I mean, it was just so much cringe just between the both of them. The dialogue was terrible, corny. I mean, just the whole reasoning for them going back to the island, that whole plot was terrible,
Yeah.
terrible. Um, I mean, I did like the fact that we got to see Dr. Grant and Ellie in the beginning, and it kind of showed them like, okay, so they weren't
They didn't
together,
make
so
it.
that was
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of it was kind of depressing, but at least it did add something to it. Because honestly, if it wasn't for that, honestly, I think you could take this movie out of the whole franchise, the whole series, and it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
That's how little I think this one actually meant to the entire saga. But yeah, I mean, it's it's a good time if you have it in the background, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
I never take the movies like seriously. It just isn't. It's kind of just like the slapstick of the series to me. It just is. But That's how I feel about it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there
All
was
right.
cool dinosaurs. Don't get me wrong, but that's
Yeah. That's the end of it.
yeah.
All right. I mean, I'll be quick about it. So it was almost the inverse because I actually did like it. I walked out of there going like, I really like that. Knowing there was some corniness to it, but I kind of looked past it for the fact that they pulled in the pterodon scene. I guess they're pterodons. I can't remember the pterodactyl flying dinosaurs. That was from the original book. They went back and pulled from that, as well as a few other things I can't quite remember. But I liked the raptors. I thought that whole raptor storyline to me was really neat. Um, I actually wasn't a fan of the Spinosaur of all things because I liked the design of the T Rex so much,
Right.
and it actually kind of pissed me off that the T Rex died at the beginning. I was like, T Rex died? Like, that means he's not going to be in the rest of the movie, or she, or
Yeah.
whichever one.
Yeah.
And they just showed in the movie before, like, oh, the mom and the dad and the baby Rex, and good for them. And then it's like there's now there because it's the same island. It's supposed to be Isla Sorna, right?
Yeah.
Site B.
Yeah.
It's like, well, there's supposed to be more than one T-Rex on there at this. I mean, maybe the other parents died, I guess, and that was the baby. But it was just kind of like, man, all that T-Rex love, and it's just
Yeah.
snap the
That
neck.
was that
It
was one
was
of my
weird,
biggest
but
problems with it too.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
didn't like that either. That the T Rex died like that. It was like, really? That was disrespectful. But okay.
yeah. So it's a little corny, but I overall thought at the time, I can look back and actually say I think The Lost World is a better movie. I, for whatever reason, enjoyed Jurassic Park 3 more out of the theater. So I nothing more to say there.
Okay. Trish, thoughts? That's part 3.
Yes, mine is also short as well. I think it might be one of my least favorite. I didn't like Fallen Kingdom as much either, but either one of those two was my least favorite. Didn't really have much to say about the third one. I felt like that's when the wonder started going away for me.
Yeah.
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 That's when the wonder of the dinosaurs. It's more just like the carnage, focusing on the carnage and the chasing. So I think that that was pretty much
Yeah.
for me. All I have to say on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with, I guess, everyone. I mean, it wasn't my favorite either. I mean, as a kid, seeing the first two Jurassic Parks, I'm like, man, T-Rex is the king. He's like the awesome one, and then he gets killed by a Spinosaurus. I'm like, okay, there's a bigger thing out there that's better than T-Rex. Okay, cool. But then I started getting curious as to like, what is the Spinosaurus a real dinosaur? And then I did my research. Spinosaurus, like in accuracy of the dinosaurs, is like half the size that they portrayed in the movie, and they're only aquatic. They only eat fish. That's why they have those long snouts. Like, that's what the paleontologists discovered. And then I thought to myself, has Jurassic Park been wrong with like all the dinosaur designs? And then go
Well, the
into
raptors aren't supposed to be that big either.
that was another thing I was
They're
gonna
like
say.
size
I
of
went into
turkeys.
like a
They
deep
beat them away.
dive as a kid, looking up all these dinosaurs and to see if they're real. Then I found out Velociraptors are only like supposed to be like this big. That's
Yeah,
it.
they're like
Besides
size of
the
turkeys.
dog.
They're not supposed to be like 6 feet in height.
Yeah, that's actually the Utah Raptor. They should have just called it the Utah Raptor from the start.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what? This is not real. Like, and then I was just disappointed at Jurassic Park 3.
It's real.
like-
It's exaggerated. That's all.
Yeah, I know, but like Jurassic Park 3 is the movie that made me dislike the writers because they mess up the size of the dinosaurs. It just because I was like a factual kid. I like the facts, so I
You were
was
like
just I
little
was
Tim, like, and then I read this book by a guy named Backer, and he says dinosaur died of whatever.
yeah. So I was just disappointed. I was like, wow, this kind of sucks. So Jurassic Park 3 kind of ruined it for me.
Well,
I kind of remember something like that. Okay,
no, go ahead.
it's just that I was like, yeah, I think I heard somewhere in the making of, the Spinosaur is like the biggest. It's a bit. It's Stan Winston, right? The visual effects legend. And he said, I remember in the making of, there's a new guy in town. His name's Spinosaurus, and he's the biggest thing there ever was. And I was like, really? Because I don't think I've heard of that. So I, like, you looked it up and realized, oh, it's not really the biggest thing. T-Rex is just old, I guess, and they want something new, and just like Claire says, bigger, something, more teeth. I can't remember. Scarier, more teeth. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, but again, you guys are right. It's Buck. I like what you said. It's fun to have in the background.
Yeah.
But would I watch it and like sit down and entertain myself watching it? No, I don't think I would. Just simply because you're right. Kirby's were probably one of the biggest things wrong with it.
It wasn't the Kirby's that were horrible, but also I think that we can all agree. I'm not 100% sure, but part 3 definitely had the worst ending of all Jurassic Park movies. I mean, I think it had one of the worst endings in most films.
On the
Period. Because
Navy and the Marines.
yeah, it was so abrupt. I'm like, what? It was just so weird. And every time I see that scene, I'm just like, did they really just run out of ideas and just throw that in there? It was so odd and
Yeah,
awkward, out of place. I just, ugh,
they kind
yeah,
of
it
just
was
gave up
terrible.
at the end. It was just like, yep.
And then that military soundtrack with the Jurassic Park score is like do 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 do. Oh, yeah, it was
I
bad.
remember for
It was bad.
ages you would make fun of that. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, it was bad.
you take it.
It was
And
bad.
then the Alan, in his dream with the Velociraptor says his name.
That was fun. Everyone makes fun of that scene, but I was always okay with that scene because it was a dream. It wasn't real. So it was like, okay, I understood that scene. He was just dreaming. But yeah, there's a lot more about that movie that bothered me besides, I mean, that dream was nothing. So
That was a Joe Johnston movie, if I recall.
it
It
was.
was.
Captain America, yeah.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yep.
Wow. So I
All
think
right.
I think we're all kind of on the same page. First, second, and third in order, best to worst. We like the first. We
Yeah,
like the
I'll
second.
go
No,
with
no.
that.
We
I
like the third.
we're right. You still like the third one better than the second one, though, right? I
I
mean,
think in time I've flipped that. Like I said, I think the quality of the movie's better.
right.
Um, even the story. I mean, the baseline story is much better in the movie The Lost World than Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah.
So
All right.
yep. So then we got Trish's movie. You know, the
Yes,
reboot.
the resurrection
Now,
of
now we're
Jurassic
going
Park.
to the Jurassic World series. This is
Yes,
yeah.
Jurassic World.
So
Um,
yeah, we're all adults at this point. 2015, I guess, is when it came out.
yep.
So
Mm,
I just graduated high school in 2015,
geez,
yeah.
and I just saw
yeah.
it there.
All
Uh,
right.
I mean, I remember watching this movie in theaters and thinking to myself, "Wow, I mean, it's back."
You
And
saw the movie for the first time, remember? I think so.
I
In
saw it with
theater.
you the first time. That's right. I wasn't like super excited to see it since I had like a busy schedule, trying to figure out what to do with life after graduating high school. But then I watched it with him, like, wow, this is actually better than I thought. Like, I watched it and I really enjoyed myself watching the movie. Um, it was basically Jurassic Park again, just upgraded graphics and visual effects, and uh, they had a mosasaur, which was like, wow, it's an aquatic dinosaur now. That's cool. And just like the chaos in there, just thinking that like they thought they solved everything by making another one and just making more advanced, but nope, they had to screw it up again and make the Indominus Rex, and it's just. I genuinely, it was similar. The plot was basically a copy and paste of the first one, but I still really enjoyed the way it all turned out at the end. And this one actually gave justice to the T-Rex and Velociraptor, the OGs. It was just
Mm-hmm.
an homage to them, and I really enjoyed it that much. Like,
Yeah.
that's probably why I give Jurassic World my second favorite in the entire series, as opposed to the Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park 1 is my favorite, but in the series, Jurassic World is my second favorite.
I second that motion.
Yeah. Buck, what are your thoughts on Jurassic World?
You know, a lot of people give Jurassic World a lot of crap because they felt that it was just basically a reboot of the first one, and it wasn't bring anything new to the table or anything like that. But I really enjoyed Jurassic World because it did something that Jurassic Park or The Lost World can do, which basically we actually saw the park fully realized. In part one, we saw like hints of if the park would have been open, what it looked like. But we in this one we actually saw it, and
Yeah.
then going back to the games we used to play, like Operation Genesis or whatever, Jurassic Park Genesis, and that's what it felt like. That was it right there, and I really enjoyed it, man. I mean, it was full of cool dinosaurs that we've never seen before in the Jurassic series. I actually thought that Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard were actually really good. Um, I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was nothing like the first one, obviously, because nothing's ever gonna be. The first one was pure magic. It's never gonna be repeated.
Yeah.
But I had a good time. I actually saw it a couple of times in the theater. So I
Yeah.
mean, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed Jurassic World. So
Yeah, you both completely agree. I like to see it realized. I thought the quality was good. We brought back some of the old themes. And they introduced the Jurassic World theme is new. It's not the same as the Jurassic Park one, but I thought it felt good. The composer Michael something. He's done a lot. He did Rogue One soundtrack too. What else? new dinosaurs, the mosasaur. I mean, all the same stuff you've already said. I thought was good. The comedy I thought was good. I don't think it was too much. Some people said, Chris Pratt's comedy was a little too much for it. I thought it was
No, I thought it was
spot
perfect.
on.
Totally
Some of it
valid.
didn't land, but for the most part, it worked.
Yeah, I was in the
fine.
Navy, not the Navajo. Like, that was perfect. Um,
Yeah.
let's see. It was just a great way to reboot. I think I almost feel like that should be the golden standard. Hey, we need to bring back a franchise. I kind of felt it was very reminiscent of Force Awakens. They brought back a lot of what we liked, but tried to go a little new with it, and kept the quality
Agreed.
up. And said, "Wow,
Yeah.
this is actually, where's this going to go? This is good."
It came out the same year as Force Awakens too.
It did.
So
I know.
they
It's
kind
pretty,
of did the same thing. Yeah. So
yeah, good reboot. Summer
yeah.
and then winter, but that's all I got to say.
Yeah.
Trish, the starlet of Jurassic World here.
It was kind of surreal watching because I didn't expect to see myself in it, and then I was watching with my brother and my family in theaters, and I said, "Oh, that's me," and there's Joseph. So that was also another moment for my brother and I. But I did like how they still brought back the theme of you shouldn't mess with nature and things in the lab you're not supposed to do. Like, why would you give already a highly intelligent carnivorous dinosaur all of these things too, just to spice things up? I didn't agree with the thing that people would get tired of dinosaurs. It's like, come on, it's a dinosaur. People are always going to pay all the money for that. But I enjoyed everything else. I thought, yeah, Chris Pratt is very charismatic and believable as a male action lead. And Bryce Dallas Howard was good in her role too. And I did like the mosasaur too, as I love the aquatic beasties as well. So yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit.
There was always a cool part. I caught it, and I think I had to tell Buck. I was like, "Did you notice this?" Because none of us really like the Spinosaurus, but I
I know
saw
what
that
you're
at
gonna
the
say.
very end
Yes.
when the T-Rex
Very
is
first
freed,
thing.
and you see the T-Rex, he busts through the
Yeah.
Spinosaurus skeleton
Yeah.
that was like
Yeah.
a centerpiece,
Mhm.
and it's almost like a slap in the face to be like,
It's
"You
like
don't ever have to see the
like
Spinosaur again. The
yeah.
T-Rex is back. Eat it."
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was a good scene.
You know, I actually thought the kids in Jurassic World were actually
Yeah,
okay.
they were good
They
actors.
weren't they weren't annoying. They made perfect sense. I guess as like one kid was really young and was really into dinosaurs, and he was still in that wonder of it, and then his older brother was into chicks, and he wasn't like it just they it felt like they were actually real brothers, and it wasn't over exaggerated. Like they didn't feel just thrown in there,
Yeah.
So actually, besides the first Jurassic Park, these kids are actually my second favorite out of all the kids that were in the Jurassic Park movies.
So the kids are your second favorite. Okay, I see what you're saying.
As far as the kids,
Yeah.
yeah, the kids were actually okay. I didn't mind them at all. So
Nice.
yeah.
Okay.
What about the Indominus Rex? What did you guys think about that?
I liked him fine.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting plot point to put into the movie. Like, I mean, I also agree with Trish. I don't like the fact that they said that they get bored with dinosaurs, so they have to make a hybrid dinosaur to get sales up in the park. But isn't it's making huge sales already? Park's getting packed. They have all those sponsorships in the park. It looked like an ad just in the city, like Samsung, 18th, whatever.
It
It was
was
just
very
everywhere.
much. It did remind me like Disney World because I don't know if they do it so much anymore, but back I remember at Epcot specifically would always have a sponsor in front of the ride.
Yeah.
Like the GE World of.
Well, they still do.
They still do.
Oh, do they? Like General Motors World of Motion or
Yeah.
GE's. God, what's the one that now has Ellen DeGeneres in it? Anyway, like there
They
was
took
always
that
a.
out.
They took
They
that
don't
right
have
out.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding! I haven't been in a
Yeah,
while.
I actually love that ride. Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
Test Track
so-
belongs to a car company now. I forgot. I think
Yeah.
Ford or whatever. Yeah.
So
So
That's
yeah, that's a good comparison. Epcot, I can see that.
Verizon Wireless presents the
I kind of
Indominus.
get what you're saying about you didn't like the part that like in the movie people were getting tired of dinosaurs, like they were kind of used to them. I kind of understood it because I feel in a world where they are used to it and it's been around for years. I think most people like the way most people think. If you see enough of something and you kind of get used to it, they have to bring something new to the table, and get people excited to see something new.
I
So
mean,
even though it felt kind of wonder still to us because we're still watching dinosaurs and it's been a while since we've seen the last Jurassic Park movie in that time, in the movie, I understood the story they were going with, as far as like, well, I mean, it's been around for a while, like Disney, you just got to add new attractions to keep people coming
Yeah,
in the park. So to me, it made sense. It didn't bother me. That part of it
I
was
guess.
okay.
So basically, for Jurassic World, I mean, we pretty much all enjoyed it. It was a good setup movie, startup movie for whatever else they're going to continue with the series. So now, what are our thoughts on Fallen Kingdom second installation? It's very mixed around here. Buck, why don't you start since you actually started differently than how you are now?
Well, let me tell you, when I first saw this movie, I hated it. I really, really hated it. You could ask Red. We had, I think, because of this movie, we didn't talk for like almost a whole
It wasn't
couple of
this
months.
movie. It was the movie that came out about 7 months before this
Yeah,
movie.
but
We
this
stopped
but this
talking
added
about it
to
for
it
a
for some
while.
reason, and it kind of blew up, and it was just like, yeah. My problem with this movie was when I first saw it is that the trailers that I saw for this movie were basically all in this movie. There was like nothing new that was added to it, and it presented itself where I thought we were gonna get just a completely different movie from what I got, and I didn't like that, and like I remember the first half of the movie was fine. I was okay with, and then once it got to the mansion part and the whole auction with
Mhm.
dinosaurs, I was just like, "What am I watching? What is this?" And then this whole mystery of John Hammond having a silent partner that nobody knew about till now, and the whole daughter with her being cloned, and they made it seem like it was like this big shocking secret. I'm like, what's so shocking about it? They clone dinosaurs. They couldn't clone a human. What's so like? Oh wow! It didn't do anything for me. Then the little girl also bothered me too because the whole end scene where they're deciding whether to release the dinosaurs or just have them die, and she releases them and because they're alive just like me. At the time, all this really really bothered me, and I left the theater and I was pissed. I was like, man, what a waste of time. I remember the ending was like they were showing snippets of the dinosaurs finally branching out into the world, and I'm like, yeah, this is the movie I wanted to see, not what I just saw. So I was upset. Um, and I told I think I wanted to tell Red. Actually, on my YouTube page, I actually on my YouTube channel, I actually have like a 15-minute rant video about just how much I hated Fallen Kingdom. It was so bad. And I know Red actually liked it. He didn't love it, but he thought it was actually good, and so did my
Yeah,
brother.
I
And
also thought it was good.
um, I never saw it again, and for a while I had it as my worst. I actually hated it more than Jurassic Park 3. I revisited this movie about like what
Like a week
last I
ago.
think it was last week.
Yeah.
Last week before I saw the new one, and I'm watching it, and I hadn't seen it since then, and I'm looking at this movie and in a whole new different way. I don't know what it was, and I'm just like, this movie isn't that bad. I don't know. I don't know what it was. I can't. I'm looking at certain scenes, and I'm like, yeah, this is kind of stupid, but this was actually done pretty well. It wasn't that bad. The whole auction part didn't bother me as much the second time around, and the whole clone girl, I actually felt bad for her this time. It was weird. So that whole scene at the end played out differently. I was actually like almost getting kind of teary, and I'm like, yeah, let the dinosaurs go, man. Don't let them die. What's going on? I cannot explain what the turn for how I felt for this movie was. I don't know what happened. So the movie ended, and I'm like, it wasn't great, but it really wasn't that bad.
Right.
And I think what happened was a lot of times when I see a movie that I don't like in the theater that I was really looking forward to seeing, I go back a second or third time just to see if I see something different because maybe the anticipation of it was what ruined it for me. And sometimes that works. I'll see the second time like, yeah, you know what? It wasn't that bad. I think it was just my expectations were out of this world, and and I didn't do that for this movie. I saw the second time recently, and after I saw the second time, I'm like, it really wasn't that awful. I mean, it wasn't great, but it definitely wasn't as bad as I remember it. So, yeah, that was my story for Fallen Kingdom.
Hmm. I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm glad you turned it around.
I'm glad you did
yeah,
too. I mean, you pretty summed up the basis of the movie of like what you liked about it after the fact, like
yeah,
what you hated about
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I actually haven't seen this movie in a while either, but I do remember leaving the theater enjoying the movie. Um, I didn't have a problem with the ending. I didn't have a problem with I mean, it was a little slow for me. I mean, going into it at first. But I didn't have a problem with the auction thing either. I mean, I thought I know you said you did at first, but um,
Yeah.
I kind of saw it as like a kind of like a black market for dinosaurs. Like, how would the extremely rich take advantage of of dinosaurs? You know, how
Yeah,
would
I still think they were bidding too low for those dinosaurs, but that's another thing altogether. Yeah.
um, I think probably my biggest problem with that movie is probably putting in another hybrid dinosaur.
Mhm.
Um, because that was kind of like, okay, why?
We just
Um,
did that, yeah.
they just did that because they wanted to add a new bad dinosaur to the like another threat to the movie, which is kind of like, okay. I mean, there's other threats that they could do besides adding another hybrid dinosaur, but whatever. Um, but besides that, I walked out of the movie. I remember you getting upset at me too for liking it. I remember like we were on a 3-way talk with me, Buck, and Rhett, and I'm like, I thought it was okay. Why'd
Yeah,
you hate it so
I
much?
had my back to talk about it because you know I didn't like it. And you want to face me. That's what it was.
I'm like, what's the matter with you? Why don't you like this movie?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. Trish, you can actually go and
Yeah.
talk about your thoughts on Fallen Kingdom.
I actually had the same reaction as Bucky at first. I think also because I watched it when the youngling was still a newborn, so I don't think I was fully watching everything, and I was also really tired. But yeah, I remember as I ended it, I thought I don't really like this much, and the same parts that Bucky had mentioned about the girl being cloned, and then well, they're alive as me too, and yeah, setting them free that also bothered me as well. But also, I guess with time. I think, and then lowering my own expectations as well. You do sympathize with that little girl and what she does. So, and I think the third Jurassic Park is still my least favorite. So,
Yeah.
but so this one is like, yeah, not as much as Jurassic World, but not. I think it's not my least favorite anymore. So,
Okay, that's fair. Rhett.
I think it actually pulled more storyline from the original Jurassic World than I'm not saying y'all give it credit for, but like the weaponizing of the dinosaurs was that one dude in the first movies
Yeah,
in Jurassic World. That was his like plan. Like, I can't wait to contract these out, and this is going to be great. And I think they continue in the engine side of it, continued that. And he even said, because I recently rewatched 2 nights ago Jurassic World and then Fallen Kingdom last night, in prep for the new one. So some of this is real fresh to me, but he said, imagine that Indominus Rex, but quarter the size, and we can send it to do anything. And that was, I think, he was already making deals to move on to the next step, probably. And so when they got the Indominus DNA from the Mosasaur tank, they made it. They made pretty much his vision, which was the Indoraptor. So I'm only gonna give it like a couple points for like actually they didn't just dream it up. I think that was something that was addressed in the movie prior, but as an audience, I did feel like that's very derivative to just, it's an Indominus Rex, but smaller, So more, maybe a little more Raptor, less T Rex. That was kind of corny, but the auctioning, that was a thought that did come from the Lost World book. So that, to me, it felt like this is canon. This is real Michael Crichton thoughts here, because the original hunters were there in lieu of doing something similar, and they talked about auctioning these things off and having them out like a safari in Africa, and imagine hunting a T Rex. That was a thought. And it reminded me a lot of that. The first half of the movie I thought was awesome. Like, On the Island was outstanding. And what cool thing about the Jurassic World movies, each of them have these little in between mini movies that they kind of release along the way. Dominion had a couple, and before Fallen Kingdom, there was actually some virtual reality movies that came out. There was, I
that's
think,
right.
two
Yeah.
called Jurassic World Blue.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Um,
I remember that.
and
Yeah.
if you have a way to see that, if you have VR, check it out. It's pretty awesome. I mean, the first one follows Blue after at short. I think when the first eruption happens, and he's chasing along like a baby Triceratops, and um, the eruption happens, and it's great because it's 360. You can look all around, and it's 3D, so it feels really cool. Then the second one, Blue encounters the T Rex, and it's a neat little battle. And it was just all this little stuff to get you hyped about the movie. So I felt like I was already part of the experience. So that might have a little to do with what helped me like it. And I did feel at the time it was maybe the version of the Lost World I wanted that I didn't get years before that. So I I still kind of hold it like that, and I actually do like it better than the Lost World. That's sacrilegious to probably all three of you, but That's okay. I liked it. I didn't think it was amazing. Um, I didn't love that he had a silent partner. I felt that was a little like, oh come on, like, we would have
Yeah,
known this. They would have told us that in the first movie if we knew he had a
right.
partner. Um, I didn't mind the clone because I was like, if you could clone a dinosaur, you could probably clone a human. That didn't the believability I felt was okay in this sci-fi world we're in. And I did actually sympathize with her from the beginning. It didn't take me till the second time, but it's funny. I didn't sympathize with um God, what was the actor's name? Vince Vaughn in The Lost World, because he took the shot out of the elephant rifle from the hunter, leaving him out there, with nothing to arm himself with the T-Rex. And I was like, he should have killed that T-Rex. It was killing people. I was so preachy, I guess, as I don't know, ninth grader. And now I'm like, these poor dinosaurs, just screw it. I want to see what happens. Let them out, let them out. I want to see the next one.
Yeah.
So I walked out of there fine, and it made for a great video game. I guess the sequel to Operation Genesis was Jurassic Park Evolution,
Evolutions, yeah.
which
Yeah.
was a modern day park building strategy game, and man, it set the standard.
Yeah.
Can't beat it.
Evolutions was the first Evolution was based on the first movie, like strictly, and then Evolutions 2 was based off the second one because then you could build in the United States and stuff like that, like
Oh,
containment fields.
hold on. Yeah, I didn't see. I never played the second one, but actually, it only came out like this within the last year, right?
Hmm.
So it was 'cause the first one you could get the Endoraptor, you can get everything in that
Yeah,
first one. It
mostly
was great.
everything. Yeah, the second one they had like DLC packs for. Now they have ones for this new movie that just came out, and they even have like
Cool.
downloadable DLC for the show Camp Cretaceous. Dinosaurs in there too.
Oh yeah, we should probably bring that up if we
Hmm.
have a minute. Did
I'm
anyone?
probably
I've
gonna
seen.
have to go actually
Yeah.
Oh, it's
for
time to
now.
run.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
for me.
Okay. Well, thank you so much
perfect
for
timing.
joining us,
Yeah.
Trish.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much for having me
Of course,
again.
it was a
And
pleasure.
yeah, if you especially like a Game of Thrones section, a Game
Ooh.
of Thrones episode, let me know, Rhett. I like all of the topics that you guys talk about, and they're all really enjoyable.
Yeah,
So
probably when
keep up the good work.
probably before House of Dragons shows up, we'll probably talk about Game
Yeah,
of Thrones.
A good
Yeah.
idea. We'll
that'd
bring
be
you back
awesome.
for the same thing, a retrospective, and then let's get stoked for the new one.
Yeah. All
Yes,
right.
Sounds
All
definitely.
good.
right, cool.
Awesome.
Good
All right.
Well,
seeing you
thank you
again.
so much.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Bye
Take
bye.
care. Bye.
Bye.
Well, Trish had to go, so I guess we're gonna be talking about the last movie, Jurassic World Dominion.
Yes.
Well,
I
she had to go because she hadn't seen the movie.
Yeah,
So
she hadn't seen the movie,
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Spoilers.
yeah.
so I know me and my brother have different thoughts about this movie. So why don't we start with Rhett? What are your thoughts?
Oh, you have different thoughts. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I just got out of it like hour and a half ago. I was watching the end credits. So um I started it actually liking it a little less than I was hoping for. I came in going, this might be the disappointing one for me because it's the opposite of what me and Bucky like. And I know he didn't love Fallen Kingdom, and I thought it was okay. So I was like, oh, this is going to be the one that doesn't do it for me. This is his Rise of Skywalker. Was like, that one wasn't the worst to me. All right. It got going when they're in Malta with the chases. Is spoilers, obviously, territory. The cool new, I can't remember if they call them Endoraptors, but not Endoraptors. Whatever
Um,
those badass raptors were, with the
I
laser
I
pointers.
had the name ready and I forgot it.
They were
Yeah.
pretty mean looking. That kind of got me back into it. I did like seeing the evolution of the characters from Fallen Kingdom at the beginning. They kind of popped up and they were cool.
Yeah.
They added a lot of the good stuff that I loved from the books. I didn't bring it up earlier because I don't want to spoil Trish, but Biosyn was like front and center in this movie. It's like, yes, that's the competition that's
And
always been there from day
Dotson.
one. They,
Yeah.
they were there.
Dotson.
Dodson,
We
we've got
got
Dodson here. I
Dotson.
know
I mean,
See,
it
nobody
wasn't
cares.
the same actor, but the character
uh,
was there.
Yeah.
So
they
yeah.
had Dodson, yeah. So they gave him life. It wasn't the same Dodson from the book, but that's okay. I know we've kind of moved on from that. I was worried about the whole Blue's baby, which they call Beta. I was worried about that kidnapping. I was like, that's gonna be stupid. I was like, if this is the only reason this movie exists is to go
Yeah.
rescue the baby, thank God it wasn't completely about that. It had other
Mm.
underlying themes and plot.
I
And
actually thought it was very little about that. I thought it was going to be like the main center of it, and it
no,
really
thank
wasn't,
goodness.
honestly.
No, it
So
was fine
yeah.
with me. So,
Yeah.
and also everyone else has been criticizing it, so I was kind of expecting a little lower standards. But man, I tell you what, a third of the way into it, I was all the way on board, and I had a great time. Um, I liked a lot of the new stuff. I liked the new actors. I liked the new girl they had in it. She was cool. Um, man, not I don't have a lot bad to say about it. I like it better than Fallen Kingdom. Um, I I almost say about on par with Jurassic World, but I think Jurassic World gave me a lot of what I always wanted to see. So this was just great seeing the actors come back, and I don't think they came back for stupid reasons. It wasn't like Lando Calrissian and Rise of Skywalker
Skywalker,
completely
yeah.
useless. Like they had decent reasons, and they looked good, and they gave us Ellie and Grant finally hooking up, which is like that's what we wanted to see
And they were all basically part of the main story. They didn't just show up like
as
mid or
background.
towards
You
the
know?
end. They were all throughout the movie.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah.
It was good. So, the new dinosaur I thought was pretty neat, the big one. T-Rex didn't go out like a punk completely. He got help, but whatever. Um, I dug it, and my kids liked it. They both I couldn't really get them to I wanted to rewatch the movies with them. They didn't wanna do it. They were fine with the YouTube, catch-up synopsis.
Yeah.
But Reese was like, "That was good. That was really good." And Mia was like, "Yeah, I wasn't bored at all." So I was like, "Great. Hey, if you guys like it, then something must be right about here." Because it's a topic we didn't hit a minute ago when you said the new dinosaurs were boring. They needed in the story
Right.
amp it up a little bit. I was about to relay that to you know what? I can actually see that now because with my kids, they're not as impressed with the
Yeah.
vid. Like when we saw Jurassic Park, it felt amazing. They've seen that their whole every time they turn a movie on since the day where they were born. There's cool visual effects.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
none of the Jurassic Park, Avatar, none of that gets them excited because they're like, "Yeah, I've seen that. I can watch that stuff whenever I want." But the fact that they liked it, I was like, "All right, that means the story got to them, so that's good."
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Buck,
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Okay, Buck, what are your thoughts?
All right. Well, I went in with the lowest of expectations because I read, I started seeing the reviews how low. I mean, as of right now, it's a 29% in as far as the Rotten Tomato rating. It is the lowest rating of any of the Jurassic Park movies. So my expectations were pretty damn low going in. I was like, I was ready to like just accept. Look, this is probably going to be the worst one. It is what it is. I'm watching it, man, and I'm just waiting for the foot to drop. That other foot drop, saying like, "Oh, this is what they're talking about. Ah,
That
this is
was
where." I'm gonna be honest. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. I was sitting there like, "That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Holy shit, that was cool. What's the problem?" Like, I'm sorry. I'm trying.
wondering.
I was like, after I was done, the theater clapped, and I was like, "Damn right." I enjoyed myself a lot more than I thought it was gonna be. Now, yeah, it could be the fact that my expectations were low, but honestly, I thought the whole movie was pretty damn well made. I mean, it's
Mhm.
never gonna be the first one. It's never gonna, obviously not. But I think as far as part of the Jurassic World series, watching part one, Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, and this one, it progressed really well. I mean, I thought it had a really nice story arc, and it actually tied up from the first movie when they brought Dotson back, and I was like, "Holy shit! Look at that!" They even brought back the damn shaving cream. They actually showed it
Yeah,
from the first movie. I'm like, wow, unbelievable. I know some people had a problem with the whole Locust storyline, but honestly, I didn't. I thought it was actually okay. I didn't.
that was my
I
one of
thought
my
it was a good
problems.
reason for them to bring back the OG characters. I didn't think it took so much screen time as people thought. They kept saying, "Oh, there's a movie about locusts, not dinosaurs." I'm like, no, I don't see that. Honestly, I enjoyed the movie. I really did. I'm shocked that some people are like have a real big problem with this movie because I read some like comments. I'm like, why do they hate this movie so much? I don't understand. It pretty much gave me everything that I wanted to see out of it. I
Mhm.
think. I mean, they had some pretty cool dinosaur sequences. I mean, you can't tell me that scene with Bryce Dallas Howard and that freaky looking dinosaur when she's
Blind
under the
one, yeah,
water. I mean, that was a great scene. And also the scene
sure,
with Chris Pratt in the ice. That one with like it looked like a velociraptor with feathers.
yeah,
I'm like, damn, this had some. And then like what you were mentioning, the raptors in the city chase scene. That
Yeah.
was a great scene. I'm
I
like,
thought that was gonna be terrible too. I was like, "Oh, here we go, another city,
oh,
dinosaurs loose in the city." That was really cool to me.
no. And then though, what the topping of that was, and you probably didn't notice this. Neither of you did. I'm not sure, but Colin Trevorrow was tied to actually direct the last Star Wars movie, right? Did you
Yeah.
see
Yeah, yeah.
that he actually put his own cantina scene in the Jurassic Park movie?
Because of the, like, the black market, the little fights
Yeah,
and stuff.
that was basically his cantina scene. I'm like,
I
oh
didn't
my
Oh,
god,
I
he
didn't
threw that in
realize
there
that.
to like be like, man, you know what, Disney? I'm doing my own damn cantina scene.
black
I don't care
market
what you say.
dinosaurs.
That's
I'm
That
like
funny.
was
that.
creepy too,
I'm
yeah.
like that was great, and it was a great scene too. I love that. I love the fact they brought the guy from Jurassic World also.
Yeah,
Guy's
the
partner.
trainer.
I wish he would
Yeah.
have stayed longer. I'm like, all right, that's great.
I was happy to
I
see that.
actually think it actually improved. I mean, the problems I had with Fallen Kingdom actually improved it because I actually like the storyline now with the girl and the
Yeah,
way they tied it in. Where well, she actually her mom gave birth to her,
yeah,
so
that's how they cloned her.
that's how they cloned her. And it gave more story to her and her mom. I actually saw a video in one of the monitors there. It said 1986. I'm like, wow. So 86, there were, and she had like a baby triceratops in her hand. I'm like, wow. So that's how far back it actually went.
Mhm.
I don't know, guys. I love the OGs. I love the fact that Grant and Ellie got back together. It tied that up really well. I don't know. I guess the story could have gone a different way. It could have gone to the more of the apocalypse kind of movie where it was kind of getting more like a Planet of the Apes with dinosaurs. But I enjoyed it. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I don't believe this is going to be the last of the series. I think they're kind of making it seem like this is the last of the Jurassic era, and now we're moving to a different kind of era, maybe a couple of years later. But I don't think this is the final one.
Really? Yeah, they
But
pretty much said this is it, right?
they said that, but I don't know. I
It's
mean,
all about the
the movie did make a lot of money over the weekend, so
yeah,
I don't know. But
Um,
I'm like you, Red. Honestly, 8 out of 10.
8
I
out of
I
10.
enjoyed it. I'm sorry. I mean, I really did.
I'll
wow.
give it an 8. We'll do the top. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
forgot.
yeah.
So wow, I guess I'm the odd one out. I am
He
the
is the odd
one
one out.
who did not like
Yeah.
this movie. It was
No, damn
it
it.
was my
It was
least
so
Give it a
favorite.
6.
I gave it a 6 out of 10. It was my least favorite of the Jurassic World series, believe it or not.
uh,
I liked Fallen Kingdom more.
You
okay.
know,
Um
I mean,
to make you feel
hey,
better, you're not alone. Honestly, you're part of the majority.
I
We're
mean,
the
yeah,
okay,
minority.
well,
yeah,
let
we're
me let me give you my reasons why I truly did not wasn't a huge fan of this film. Um I would throw nostalgia out there because it was a pure nostalgia fest for a lot of a huge portion of the movie, which I didn't really have a huge problem with. Um, but they used that for a lot of the storytelling. Um, Going right off the bat, the whole Locust storyline.
yeah. I didn't love that. I mean,
I wasn't a huge fan of it. I was just,
It didn't ruin the movie for me though.
I mean,
I was
okay, yes, okay, but okay. The movie starts off with them showing off the predicament of dinosaurs living amongst humans. That's how the movie starts. That's the problem that they're starting with in the movie is okay, dinosaurs living amongst humans, and there's a huge like problem, like 37 deaths in this, whatever. Like it's like news reports, website reports. They're showing clips and videos of dinosaurs disrupting human life because they're living amongst humans, you know. And then we go into the story of this locust problem. I'm just like, okay, so the problem in this movie is something that they created that isn't dinosaurs, and it's just because biosyn made them so that people can buy biosyn crops. And I'm like, okay, that's a problem, but that's not a dinosaur problem. I mean, yeah, that's a world related problem, not something that should be in a movie called Jurassic World. It's a locust problem, So that's problem number one for me. Um, Problem number two. Why is Alan Grant still in the field of paleontology when dinosaurs
nah,
exist?
he says it. He explains his
yeah.
reasoning. He's like, "This is the truth." He even said that since the
This,
third
that's
Jurassic
where you
Park.
learn behavior from dinosaurs and where they come from. It's still just because they have them. You know what I mean? It's
Yes, I guess, but like,
Yeah, I see your
you
point.
see my
I see.
Yeah,
point.
I see your point. I see your point.
I think
But
there's no bones left to find at this point. It's like, what's left? I mean,
yeah.
shit. Like, who's really digging up
But
dinosaurs
see,
anymore?
that's why they had to
I get
add
that.
that storyline for the locust.
Okay, and
That
that's
was
another thing.
great.
Why did uh I'm forgetting her name now. Um the main the oh my gosh.
Claire
doctor, the
Sattler.
Sattler. Thank
Salad.
you, Jesus.
Yeah.
Why did she go for? Why did she go to Grant for a problem based on Locust if he's a paleontologist?
She was ready to hook back up with him.
Yeah,
That's why I came to that too.
go back with him, and she trusts him. I mean, they still were friends. They haven't seen each other in a while, but yeah, I didn't find that totally out of like odd, thing to
Again, I
happen.
think they purely used that for nostalgia factor, like to get the team back together.
Obviously, but I
Yeah,
mean,
of
it
course,
still
yeah.
worked. They didn't just come together for just out of thin air. It was for a reason.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the locust thing, you're right. Like when it happened and I'm watching it and you did not expect the locust and you see the
No,
swarm first happen, for a moment I was just like, what the hell is happening here? Why am I seeing these giant freaking grasshoppers? And I was like, okay, I'm taken back, but maybe they're getting somewhere. I'm not gonna say it's like what I want. That whole storyline isn't exactly what I just had to see because it wasn't at all. I got where they're going with it. It's, more like the dinosaurs are the cover up for their bioengineering that they've been
yeah,
wanting forever, like taking over the market. His whole thing was a facade, like the guy Dodgson Dyson, like in Terminator. His character was like, oh, I'm gonna pretend to be like a Bill Gates or a weird, just a, you know, I can't think of the description of these, billionaire weirdos, but that was like all a cover for him to be like, no, I've been in corporate espionage from the beginning, stealing from engine, and yeah, now I'm gonna take over. I did think it was kind of dumb. Like, how is the government not catching on to like the one successful genetic engineering company now that is also doing all this research? I was like, someone would have tied together and said, okay, you release this dangerous thing, we're gonna put you in jail for that shit.
Right.
So there was some believability I had to like put aside,
Yeah.
yeah.
but it had
Another. Sorry, what?
I said, but it had Dilophosaurus.
It
I haven't
had
seen that. I'm
Dilophosaurus.
working on
Yes.
Dilophosaurus
Dilophosaurus
is
since the
back,
first
man.
damn movie.
That was probably one of the good
Yeah.
mirror scenes because it was Dotson who died to the Dilophosaurus, and
Yeah.
you still see the same can.
Yeah.
It
Oh
was
yeah, yeah,
left
yeah.
over.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, he
Yeah,
did die from Dilophosaurus, which is how Nedry died.
this is how
Yeah,
Nedry exactly.
hands been around. Yep.
Okay, so another problem I had. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Velociraptors that did the chasing, the ones that followed the lasers, those were hybrid Velociraptors, right?
I don't know.
They
She
like
said thoroughbred. She said thoroughbred, and she had a name for him. So I think it was just another species of
because she
raptor.
she said something along the lines of, oh, I don't know what Biosyn's doing with their hybrids, but they're doing it wrong or something like that, along the lines of that.
I thought that was because she said these are thoroughbred, as in like these are the legit deal. This is straight DNA, no mixing. I don't know what they're making in their lab, but these are real. I thought that's how she was trying to sell what
Yeah,
they
I have to
were.
see that scene again because I don't remember
Yeah,
exactly
I don't remember,
what she
but
said.
it
But
made
yeah,
it seem like that they were hybrid, and in my mind, I'm
Her
like,
character,
how did she get hands on hybrids without, you know?
maybe I'm wrong. I thought she said thoroughbred, meaning right. That means like these are
that
not.
that whole scene though was all underground black market stuff.
Okay, but
I
yeah,
mean,
but like these dinosaurs were not made, like these were made in a lab somewhere after this whole event happened. So like those weren't black market; those were trained raptors specifically for this woman.
what's funny though? How many years from Fallen Kingdom to now? Did this say
Probably like
as
five.
like
I
They
five?
think it
said
was
Macy's age was 14. I don't remember how old they said she was in the second movie. That's probably what we have
She
to
looked
use for.
pretty young in the second
Oh,
one.
they said 4. They said
it was
we've had her for
4,
4 years. At some point, they
Okay,
said 4 years
4 or
ago.
5. Okay, yeah, it was 4.
Yeah.
okay.
Actually, the actress, the character rather, who actress was fine, but the character of that white shirted British Indian woman who said take these raptors as a haul. I thought her character was kind of dumb. I'll give it to you that. Like she was way too. She walked like they started opening fire and she like struts past like I'll
Yeah,
walk through.
yeah. She was
Like
like a Bond villain. Like, yeah, she
yeah, a
was kind
Bond
of dumb.
villain. That's
Yeah, I
exactly
didn't
what she
like
was.
her. Yeah,
Not, I wasn't a
And
big fan of
it
her
kind of
either.
that
yeah.
whole sequence did feel a little Mission Impossible to me, but
It did.
a
It did.
Felt
dinosaur was
it felt out of
But it was
place.
still fun though. I enjoyed it. I don't know. I liked it.
like this
It
too.
was
That was
fun,
actually where it really
yes.
started picking up for me. I was not so sure about it maybe the first 30, 40 minutes actually. Like I felt like there was a lot going on from I didn't love Claire's rescue of the baby Triceratops. I thought that was like, man, she is yeah, I was glad the character was like, you're going a little extreme now. You were like the ops officer for this thing, and now
Right.
you're like this
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever. And then it had to go and introduce every single one of these characters. Really, then there's like 8 new characters. There's 8 total, 10 characters.
Yeah.
And it took a while for it to be like, okay, the intro's out of the way, let's get focused on something. And then it goes into the baby Blue's baby getting kidnapped. And I was like, well, here goes this
Yeah,
part of it.
and it
And it
gave
was
them a
like, guys,
reason to go rescue.
Believe
yeah,
it,
it was
I
going to be
was
these
surprised how
redneck
little
idiots.
they showed in that storyline with Blue and baby and his baby, because they really weren't a big part of the story as I thought they were going to be, which I was
Yeah,
glad.
I'm glad it was over quick. Like it happened, and I was like, oh,
Good.
here we go. But then it was about done
Yeah.
right after it started. So
So
after that, I was on board with everything. It didn't have a problem. But you were talking. I'm the one that cut you off.
Yeah. So they go back to the sanctuary, which is basically another Jurassic Park,
Other part.
yeah,
basically in disguise. Then we introduced to Dr. Ian Malcolm, which probably was my favorite of the legacy characters to come back. I really enjoyed his performance in the movie the most out of the three. He was kind of undercover and a spy and like kind of like an inside man for Biosyn. I thought it was cool how he kind of like gave him access, and his assistant as well. I thought he did a good job too. That room with where the locusts are, how big would you say that container was that all the locusts were in?
Not real big.
Not real big, right? Well, it didn't look like humongous. So explain to me how when Dachshund sets that whole room on fire, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, so it's only gonna be the rest. I'm assuming what's left of the locusts is he's just gonna kill them. When they escape, it's literally a humongous cloud of fire. I'm like, there were not that many locusts in that room.
I
What
have an
is
answer
this?
for that, though.
What's your
I have,
answer?
I have an answer for that. There was more than just that room. You just didn't see it. He was releasing more of it. It was just that one room when he did it. He was probably releasing a bunch of others. You just didn't see.
I don't think so. I feel like it was just
Well,
that
that's
room.
my argument, and I'm sticking with it. I can't prove it, but you can't say no either.
But
I
I,
mean,
I feel
hey,
like when they escaped, they just escaped from that one container and they just
yeah,
all escaped into the
I know.
sky.
But I'm
Even in
just
that one room alone, it was like these little like plant boxes of wheat, and you could just see them like wiggling. The bugs are in there. Like, oh, we're showing you without showing you. The bugs
And
are
but
in
then
there.
when
And
Alan,
it's like I should be seeing them. Where are they? And then it's like there's maybe what 3 per box, and
yeah,
then it's
because
like
they're huge.
10,000.
I'm
I'll give you that. It was
again
kind of
a little. It
that's
takes.
nitpicking. That's the kind of nitpicking I would like, criticize Obi-Wan lightsaber bouncing off the
hey, look,
stormtrooper. Like,
it's
oh,
it's
okay, it
yeah,
looked cool, but
it's the same kind of
not
criticism you
story.
get the Lost World with the whole boat scene with the T Rex. All of a sudden, all these people are dead, and you're like, how did that happen? If
Yeah, that's
it was, yeah,
nitpicking.
I mean, it's one of those things,
If it's not story, I'm calling it nitpick. If it's a problem, it's like that was dumb, but it
But think
wasn't.
about it. It does kind of affect the story, but because it's because of that humongous fire that they all had to kind of do everything pretty quickly. Because if not, the
Yeah.
fire was spread, and
If anything, I thought it was weird that they didn't just drop dead after getting lit on fire. I mean,
Yeah,
that too.
think about
exactly.
any bug in general. You touch it with a flame, it's like a spider or something. It's like kill with fire, done. But
But
they're flying around and lasting quite a while, catching dinosaurs on fire afterwards. Like, okay. So if anything was a stretch, I'd say it was that.
probably my least favorite line in the entire movie was said by Dr. Alan Grant. And
What?
it's when they approach the Gigantosaurus, and Alan Grant goes, "That's the Gigantosaurus, the biggest predator the world has ever seen." And I'm like, didn't you say it about the T-Rex? Doesn't he say that about the T-Rex?
But at the time, they didn't know that. As time goes on, they learn more about dinosaurs, and I don't think that
He
was.
never said that about the T-Rex.
Yeah, I don't think he ever said that about
I
T
feel
Rex
like
either.
in the
They
first
might have
Jurassic
said the
World,
greatest predator to ever live, but I don't ever think they said the biggest.
No.
And then he said terrestrial too, so like land walking. Now, one thing I had a question about was like, wasn't Spinosaur bigger? Like at least in
Yeah,
the
'cause
in
he
their
did say
world?
that in part 3. He said, "No, it sounds bigger." He
mhm,
said that about the
Yeah,
Spinosaurus.
that's true.
Yeah.
So I
You
thought
know,
the Spinosaur. I mean, in their world, we just talked about how it's not the biggest.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of sat with me. Like, what happened to the old Spiny? I thought he was the big one.
You know what
okay,
would have been cool, and I think was a missed opportunity?
to put Spinosaurus in the movie.
No, not just to put him in there. They didn't have to put him in there as a prominent dinosaur, but if he would have just came back at the end and helped T Rex out to have them team up would have been freaking awesome.
That
And I'm
I
like,
thought they
yeah,
were gonna do
that would
that.
have been a cool
I
nod.
thought that we were gonna do that, but instead they got the
But
weird long
but
nail
it
thingy.
was fine. I mean T Rex always doesn't come out as the hero, and that's cool. I mean,
I mean, the T-Rexes needed help twice now.
yeah. T-Rex,
it's
man. He's classic. He's awesome.
I
You
know he's
gotta
classic, of course. It's the
respect
T-Rex,
him,
but
man.
I just feel like adding another big bad dinosaur and then having them fight with the T-Rex was again just another nostalgia factor
You know
because
what? At least it wasn't genetically like spliced or altered.
you're
It was
right.
actually a dinosaur. You
Yeah.
know, it wasn't. They didn't have that. You know, like in the other two movies.
Right, right.
So
Like it wasn't a hybrid or whatever, but it was again, it was just a still T-Rex fight.
yeah,
They're always necessary in the movies. The T-Rex versus something else.
right.
Um
Well, yeah,
so Doctor Wu, he comes out with the locust that can kill all
Oh,
these
Doctor Wu, yeah.
locusts. I actually liked him in the movie. I didn't
That was cool.
he pissed me off. I didn't like that. I
really.
didn't like the character in this one because he was so damn evil in the last two, and all of a sudden here he was like, "We've made a horrible mistake." Come on, where did that come
Funny,
from? It was like,
they villainized him in Jurassic World because he wasn't a bad
did
guy
it?
in the first movie. In Jurassic Park, he was just, you know,
Yeah,
hey, I'm part of the guys who made the dinosaurs. Aren't I cool?
yeah.
Then the Jurassic World, he was like, yeah, this villainous. Yeah, it totally camouflaged the dinosaur camouflage. He's like, really? And he got all excited. How
Yeah.
about that? You know, I can't remember. He was a little snooty about it.
Yeah. I feel like the Doctor Wu, you're saying, Buck, we made a big mistake. I feel like he was just talking about that about the locust though. Like I think he's still fully on board with hybriding
I
dinosaurs.
I get that.
Yeah.
No, he was just he did like a complete 180 of like his whole like mission in life when he was doing the dinosaurs. It looked like he just made a whole turnaround and was like,
Well,
yeah,
it doesn't
we
matter because
messed up.
everyone instantly forgave him in a life or death situation, just let him on board. So
I mean, he was basically part of the reason What's Her Girl got kidnapped, right?
yeah.
Which is kind of like that's not good. I mean, I know
Mm-hmm.
you needed to get her to make your
Yeah,
formula.
but he also told her the real, who she was actually, that, that she wasn't just cloned.
Yeah,
She was actually, her mom gave birth to her and her
Yeah, and
dad didn't
like
know it.
she used for
That's
DNA
the
to
only
cure
issue
diseases.
we know about.
he
And again,
gets
it was a nice tie-in.
he gets points for enhancing the plot a little bit on that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
but he was they brought him back.
Okay, so basically the end of the movie, which comes to a conclusion with all the locusts are basically going to die eventually because he let that one locust out that had the gene that can kill all of them, right?
He gave them all COVID. And they're all
Basically,
gonna die.
Blue is reunited with his baby.
I told the kids like, he just gave them all COVID. That was funny.
Blue is reunited with her baby, and Maisie lives with her adopted parents, Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard. But the problem that was brought in the beginning of the movie, which was dinosaurs live among us,
It's still there. Yeah.
was never solved. It was never.
I don't think it was meant to be solved though,
It,
because
okay,
It was solved. They said we're all living together now in harmony.
right, well, that
Yeah.
was the whole thing. I mean, eventually there's no solution to this problem. I mean, now what they have to do, people have to adapt to dinosaurs living amongst them. That's just the way it is.
right, but
I mean,
why introduce that? Doctor Wu came out with that thing with the locusts that can kill all the locusts. Why can't you do that with the extremely problematic dinosaurs? Because
it's a whole different thing altogether.
yeah, but I mean, again, you're gonna come up with a problem in the movie, which is like the main plot point of the movie. What we all think is going to be the main problem of the movie is humans living amongst dinosaurs, because it seems to be killing the humans. It really does, because it's like they're not going to live. And then at the end of the movie, they're just saying deal with it.
Well, in the beginning of the movie, they showed how the dinosaurs spread basically all around the world. So I think the locust thing was pretty early on to actually do something about.
Right. They solved the locust thing right away. They still
Right.
can't
So
solve the
I don't
dinosaur
think the
problem.
dinosaur thing is just a totally different thing. They just, it's gone too big to the point. It's like COVID. It's like there's no COVID is going to be here forever.
So
You're not gonna get
basically,
COVID is
dinosaurs have spread amongst the human population so much that we just have to accept the extinction of the human population.
It's basically Planet of the Apes with dinosaurs, and I think honestly that's what the next trilogy, whenever he decided to do it, that's what's going to be. Like, what is it? Is it going to be the Cretaceous period? We have the Jurassic, now we have the Cretaceous period. Now it's going to be that. So, I honestly, let me tell you something. I was ready to like kind of wrap this whole Jurassic World trilogy up and go back to the beginning. But honestly, I'm kind of like, you know what? Let's go forward. Why not? Either way, I don't mind. But I honestly, I enjoyed it, man. I'm not gonna lie. You can nitpick it, and you have your reasons, and they're valid. They are. I mean, I'm not saying, like you said, you're in the majority because most people don't like this movie.
Yeah.
But I had a good time, and I actually look upon like the whole series, especially the last three, as like this was a pretty damn good like trilogy. It was really good. I thought it was good. It was solid. Wrapped it up pretty well.
Mark was like, I don't buy it.
I don't buy it. I'm sorry. It's
I know.
I still
It's,
hate Jurassic Park 3 more. Obviously, it's a shit movie, but this one is in second for worst Jurassic movie, worst Jurassic series movie.
Maybe give it 3 years like your brother did and see if you can come back.
Maybe I'll like it after. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a fun movie. It was a fun movie, but story wise, plot wise, I didn't buy it.
I'm still
So
shocked.
it is like your Rise of Skywalker, sort of.
Rep, but this is you don't understand. This one is the lowest rated Jurassic Park movie.
I don't give
of
it a
all time. I mean, it's hard
29.
to,
That's
like, stomach.
ridiculous.
I'm looking at him like, man,
I
have
don't get
people
it.
seen
I don't
Jurassic Park 3? Are you kidding?
I
Like,
gave it a 6 out of 10. I did not give it a 3 out of 10. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, even you're saying it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
that bad.
I don't know. I liked it.
I enjoyed it.
I'm not
It's
gonna
funny. I
give
wasn't
it
sure
a
you were
kid.
gonna like it, Red. I wasn't positive. I'm like, I think he'll like it
I
because of the whole.
I said it from the beginning that you two were gonna like it more than I am because
I
of
figured it'd be the opposite.
the nostalgia factor of the movie. I knew you guys were gonna be into it way more than I was.
Nostalgia had a lot to do with it, but I don't know how to say it. I liked it. There's nothing else to say.
Yeah.
And they gave it the whole Biosyn Dodgson thing was kind of a good pull for me. I was like, this is good.
Cool callback, and I knew you loved that part of it. I was like, oh, Red's gonna like this part.
Oh,
I know he is. I was like,
Yeah, hell yeah. That was good.
Yeah. So
Dodgson, we've got Dodgson here. All right. I guess are we ready to rank them?
yeah,
Let's rank them. I mean, we have individual rankings or as a podcast we're gonna rank it
from like first to last, and we'll just everyone say your numbers.
So my number one is Jurassic Park.
Oh, that's everyone's.
That's everyone's.
Yeah. So Jurassic Park, we all give it a 10.
Yeah.
Lost World, what do you give it around the room?
For me, Lost World is an 8.
Lost World's an 8 for me too.
I think it's gotten better for me over the years. I probably would have given it a 6, and now it's maybe 7.
Okay.
3.
That's what it gets. 3.
Nice. Yeah.
Jurassic
Just
Park
like
3.
the claws ripping through the title. 3.
That's the rating right there. Bam.
All right, I'll give it a 6.
Wow, really?
Be my official worst, but I still enjoy that movie. I don't care.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4.
Damn, come on, a 4.
That's a 3 for me.
Yeah, come on.
Better than
It's
yours.
Yeah.
All right. The Jurassic World.
9.
9er. We are on par with this, except for him. He looks different.
Jurassic World. I'm gonna give it an 8. Yeah.
Okay. Is it a lower 8 than Lost World?
No, I think I prefer the Lost World. They're basically a tie as far as quality for me. I think prefer the darker tone of the Lost World a little more, but it's on par.
It's darker. You got to give it to Lost World. It's darker.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it's a 9. It was. I really, really liked that movie, and I thought to myself, it'll never get beaten. So for the Jurassic World series, it's definitely my favorite.
Absolutely.
All right. Fallen Kingdom.
7.
7. I'll say 7.
Yeah. I say 7. I think I texted you the other day. It's 7. I moved it
You
to
did say
7.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
So
what was it? What was it before?
Like 5 or a 4, and you went up to a 7. That's a huge.
Well, before this was I hated this one more than Jurassic Park 3, which was like I can't believe I ever said that because I saw Jurassic Park 3 the other day. I'm like, no way I said that. Oh my god, what was I on? Yeah, I saw the movie in a totally different way, and yeah, it's a 7. It's a good solid movie.
Cool. Yeah. All right, and then last but not least,
for me, it's at least 6.
I give it an 8. I said it earlier, right? 8.
For me, it's 6. Still standing at 6.
Y'all are both pretty extreme on the low for Jurassic Park 3 because it's like what 4 and 5? Oh no, 3 and 4. 3 and 4. Those are seriously low scores.
Yeah.
And my lowest of all of them is a 6. But your next one that you dislike, you each gave it a 6, I believe.
Yes.
When I give it a 6. Which one?
You didn't give anything a 6.
I gave Dominion a 6. Yeah.
He gave Dominion a 6. Yeah.
I think I gave 3 a 6, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Our scores are pretty crap if I can't remember what the hell I gave it.
I mean, look,
But,
3 out of the Jurassic Park movies I gave 8s to, so that's pretty damn good. I mean,
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
Yep,
So
it's good.
I'm like,
You know what's funny? Versus Star Wars, it's like whatever they do in these movies, it's not gonna ruin the originals. Like
yeah,
I have to throw in Star Wars a little bit because it's like that story is all so connected that as soon as you mess up one here, it could wreck that its own trilogy. Like one movie can wreck it. Whereas even for us and you, the second movie would have been the one that wrecked it for you, but in time it recovered, and by the third one, you're like, doesn't even matter because this is fine. Whereas in a Star Wars trilogy, episode 8 and 9 for each of us is a little different, but those movies shit on the whole thing afterwards.
yeah,
Like you can't recover that story. Whereas Jurassic Park, I think probably the good thing for me is it's like, hey, worst thing that happens, I didn't like that movie, but it's
Yeah.
not gonna kill the franchise for me.
but it's funny. I don't think everyone looks at the Jurassic series the same because I mean, most people think Part One is obviously a 10 out of 10. It's the perfect movie. Um, but they think the Jurassic World series, a lot of people enjoy it, but some people really don't like it. They think it's just
You're right.
like just cheap thrills.
Yeah.
It's basically just to make a cash grab. Honestly, I think in about 10 years it will age better than most people give it credit for.
Yeah, that's
Because
fair.
honestly, if you look at those 3 movies, I mean, I think you can compare it to the Star Wars prequels, as that they were at the time like hated, and then as time goes on, I think you'll find a new appreciation of it. Because honestly, I think it added good stuff to the mythology of the Jurassic Park movies. Honestly, the lore. So I thought it was great.
I probably yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
I'm trying to think of like the order. So I think first one's my favorite. Lost World second. Dominion is third.
Wow.
Jurassic World is fourth.
Fallen Kingdom. Oh no.
Fallen Kingdom's fifth,
Oh,
and
okay.
then Jurassic Park 3 is
So you
the
put
worst.
Dominion over the first Jurassic World.
Yeah,
Wow.
Ooh.
because honestly, I really think it was. I don't know. It was different. I mean, I love Jurassic World. Don't get me wrong, but I really think this one was freaking solid, man. It's not giving the credit that I think it should be getting. Because at least Jurassic World got like a 75% as far as critics wise, so it was pretty well liked. This one is so hated. I'm just like I'm defending the hell out of it. I'm like I don't know what the hell you guys saw. This was a great damn
Personal.
movie.
It's
Yeah.
personal for you guys. I really do think it
I can
is.
feel it's not personal for me. I don't give a shit what a reviewer out there says. If anyone's listening to my review and thinks that they should care about it, they need to go check themselves because other people's opinions shouldn't mean anything to you when it comes to your movie.
Well,
If you like the movie, great,
you're right. You're
for you.
right to a certain extent, but
Yeah.
when a movie that I really like gets such a low score, I get curious about it because I start thinking deep into what people are thinking because I'm like, because even movies that like, let's say a movie gets bombed, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, I see it, I'm like, it wasn't that bad. I can see why people don't like it, why, and I'll agree with it. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see why people don't like it. I mean, I thought it was okay, but I can see why people would dislike it. I don't see that in this movie. I'm really shocked.
Even after
The
everything I
level
said,
of
you don't
hate
see
this
why.
movie's getting. I really because even you give it at least a 6. So that's still pretty decent. There's some hatred. I mean, there's some real. I've seen read some comments on Facebook. I'm just like, God, they really hate this movie. I don't know why.
Sitting,
It's
yeah, but
weird.
I
So
liked it. I was a little shocked they didn't have. I thought that clip of the 65 million years ago, the T-Rex and the big one fighting. I don't know why I thought that was supposed to be the opening for this movie. I realized as I'm
they
watching it,
cut a scene from the outside movie theater too. The T Rex going through the movie screen when it's burning. They cut that
yeah,
out completely.
that
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
another mini movie that like I mean I like that they gave us those, but I thought those were going to be part of the movie.
yeah, yeah.
And if you remember the reel, I did remember this part. The reel of the humans living with dinosaurs at the beginning. That was the end credits of the battle at Big Rock, that Allosaurus at the campground mini movie they
Yeah.
made.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna mention that. I really liked that short. That was a
That
really
was a
good
good
movie.
short. I agree.
It was really great. Yeah,
Well, it
Mm-hmm.
ends up they were all shorts. That one,
yeah.
the
Hmm.
65 million years ago is a short.
Yeah.
The T-Rex movie theater I thought was a short too. I
It
think that was
it was a good short because it presented the problem of dinosaurs living amongst us, and
noise.
it wasn't resolved.
And I know I'm probably gonna get a lot of crap for this, but because I actually liked a lot what Colin Trevorrow did, Colin Trevorrow did with this movie, and now I'm really curious to see if he directed the Rise of Skywalker, how would it have
What
turned
it
out?
would have been like.
What would have been?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I saw a lot of good stuff in here, man. I really did. And the fact that he actually had a cantina scene in the Jurassic Park movie, kind of sticking it to Disney, be like, I don't need you. I'll do my own cantina.
Yeah, I wonder how many things he pulled from his ideas in Star Wars and said, "I want this same sort of vibe for this scene," and it could have been what the sorts of things we would have seen over there.
Now I
We
gotta
don't
watch
know
it
that.
again. For that scene.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to
Yeah.
watch it again, but
Yeah. And then look, in the end, I had a good time with it. I
Yeah,
could watch it again in the theater, honestly. It was to me, it was that good.
I liked it.
I
All
liked it.
right, well,
I
we've
liked
been
it.
going for quite a while here. We should probably
yes,
Yeah.
put
let's
it
wrap
in.
things up.
Yeah, remember we also have Obi-Wan. I have to get up early to see. I don't know why.
Yes,
Hopefully,
yes.
Yeah.
we'll see where
Well,
that goes.
thank you everyone for watching the Worst Fans podcast. That was fun. We will see you guys next time. Adios.